So I want to talk about frame placement. When you go to a hive and you begin to inspect it, you start lifting frames out. And if you're like me, you might pull the frame closer to the wall out and you might set it on the ground or in a frame hanger. So that gives you more room to actually manipulate your frames and look at them, right? I understand that. And one of the things that I like to do is keep track of what's on each frame so that I can put them back in the same order. And last year, I kind of came up with something that I thought was very helpful to me, because here's the deal. When you remove or move around, a lot of your frames, sometimes it's a lot of work to put the frame that you took out all the way back against the wall, because since you're sliding them toward you, then you have to slide everything back. Well, anytime you slide frames or lift them up and out, you run the risk of injuring bees or killing bees between the frame sides that meet together. You can squish bees. And so what I learned to do, if I pull out the frame closest to me and closest to the wall, if I'm working from the side, I'll set that honey frame. It's always a honey frame. I'll set it down on the ground or in a hanger. And then I pull all the frames to me. And as I examine them, I put them back in the same order. And then I'm all the way on the opposite side, the opposite wall. I will pick up the frame of honey off the hanger or the ground, and I will set it in the open space that I've created after I've manipulated all these frames. That prevents me or saves me the trouble of having to push all the frames back. And if you've got a real gooey propolis, deep that you're inspecting and everything is like hard to slide or push, or it's just kind of real propolized, a mess, it saves so much time. So again, pull out the frame of honey closest to you, inspect the frames, but put them back and pull them toward you, and put the first frame you took out all the way against the other wall. Now, some people are saying, oh my gosh, you're disturbing, you're messing up the order. Well, look, the frame that I took out was all honey. And if you look over there on the opposite side over there, that frame that you've moved over, it's all honey too. You're not really disturbing the brood nest area. So that's one technique that keeps all the frames in order. You don't really have to worry about it very much at all. Okay, what about placing frames and moving them around? Can this be a problem? So let's talk about maintaining placement during a frame placement during a hive inspection. What are the benefits? Well, one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is maintain the brood nest integrity. And that means that the bees have put everything they want in their brood nest to have it handy to keep the brood nest well fed with all the things that they need, like they're going to be feeding the larvae, the brand new larvae rolled jelly. They're going to be feeding worker jelly to older larvae. They're going to be feeding pollen and bee bread, and they have all that in a rainbow effect around the brood usually, or the next frame over. Those nurse bees that are tending to brood really do need to have access to all the various resources to feed the developing brood. But also think about this. When you keep all your brood nests together in the order they've designed it, it's really good on hot days like this. Really, it is. I've been studying some research that has been done on people that have tried to spread the brood nest out, like spread it apart or put empty frames between it for better ventilation. And it kind of messes things up because they develop a more efficient way of bringing air or sometimes water into the hive, and they keep circulating this around the brood nest area to keep it 93 degrees Fahrenheit. And so when you mess up that integrity of the brood nest area, you could actually cause your bees to excessively overheat because they're really good at cooling the hive, right? And so that's another reason to think about that. Obviously, that's true if it's on a very cold night. It helps you to avoid chilling your brood, because if you, let's say you checkerboard them on a cold night, you put a frame of undrawn comb between two frames of brood to help one get drawn out. It's okay to do that if the weather is going to be warm enough that all the bees in there will be on top of the pupae to keep it warm. But if they're not, and you spread it out, it might be tough. They're not going to really be able to keep everything from getting too chilled. So you've always got to think about, how do I maintain the integrity of the brood nest area? I want to keep it in the same way that I found it for the most part. And sometimes it is bad because bees might abandon brood, if it's too cold over there where you moved it. So, and I think if you maintain the placement of it, it really does help all your frames to be drawn out more evenly. Sometimes it's a little risky when you start putting an undrawn comb in the middle of two drawn combs, because they might take the two drawn combs and draw them out even wider into the undrawn comb. I've seen that before. So it's not always, checkerboarding doesn't always go as planned. So you keep an eye on that too. Well, when can it help to change frame placement? Like I said, in maintaining the brood integrity is really primary focus. But there are times where checkerboarding can help. And those are times when you are trying to get frames drawn out, and you do decide to pull an undrawn frame and put it between two drawn frames in the brood nest area. And I've been making a video following a package of bees that I installed, and that's what I've been doing. And I've noticed that it's about 75% effective. Last week I made a video and I showed you that they haven't drawn out one frame that's between two brood frames. So that kind of messes up the brood nest area. There's a gap, in other words, right? It's kind of weird, but they have drawn it out in other areas. So I'm going to make that video again tomorrow. And if they haven't drawn that frame out that's in the brood nest area between two brood frames, I'm going to take it out, and maybe I'll add more wax or something, because I don't want to keep my brood separated. Sometimes it's really good to manipulate frames out of order if you're trying to do swarm control. And a good example is that if you're making a split and you have 4 or 5 frames you take out of a big colony, you take them out of the brood area, you're taking eggs and larvae and resources, and you're making a split, and you're putting undrawn comb or frames back in its place, maybe drawn frame if you have them. But what I like to do is still the remaining brood, I will still push it all together in a deep, right? Even though I took 5 away, there may still be 2 or 3 that have brood on them. I'll put those together in the middle and add my empty or my drawn comb that has nothing in it that are new. I'll put those on the outer edges of the brood. Always try to keep the brood and resources in the brood nest area. That's always going to be a big help for you. But sometimes we have to do it for swarm control. Or sometimes, like I said, we do it to get frames drawn out, and keep an eye on it. Do that on only warm enough days where they don't have to worry about chilling the brood. And yeah, adding a frame from another hive is another reason sometimes you have to manipulate your frames. Here's an example. Listen up, friends. If you have a frame, if you have a hive that's failing, it's not doing good, it's starting to get better. Maybe you've got a queen finally taken off in there, but they're low in number, population's down, not a lot of eggs are brood, but you had to get them a new queen. Here's the best thing to do. Don't give them a frame of open larvae. That's going to require them to feed the larvae, and they may not be populated enough to have enough nurse bees to take care of that. So give them a frame of cap pupae from another hive, because as soon as that emerges within a few days, you've got an instant workforce. On a deep frame, you're looking at about 6,000 to 7,000 bees that will emerge. That's almost the size of a package. And then they can go to work, and they'll be nurse bees in about 6 days after they emerge. And they can help take care of what your new queen is going to lay. Isn't that fascinating to do that? So in that case, we're manipulating frames. We're putting a frame of cap brood into a hive in the middle of the brood nest area with the bees from the other hive. I move bees and all. They're not going to fight. They're going to be fine. And that will give the weak colony a big boost by manipulating frames like that. And of course, sometimes you make mating nukes, and you have to take frames out of a big hive, move them over there, make sure you don't have eggs in there. You might just be moving frames of resources, either in a starter hive or something. So we're always manipulating our frames like that. You just have to do it sometimes. And it can help. It can be a good thing to do. Now, when can it hurt? When does it hurt? Well, as I've mentioned, anytime you start separating the brood area, you're not, maintaining the integrity of the brood area. And spacing that could cause problems if you have temperature shifts and chilled brood. I believe the nurse bees could get disoriented from where they're used to going and getting food and feeding the brood. Now you've messed up the frames. They don't understand why they don't have access to the honey that was right there. Now it's somewhere else. And also they can't feed the larvae as effectively. And you can have a loss of beetle control. Sometimes if you notice, the beetles are being contained on the outside edges of your honey frames, where you can put some Swiffer sheets or some oil traps, and you can kind of control your beetles on the edges of your hive. But if you take some of those frames of honey and you move them more into the brood nest area, then you're spreading where these possible eggs have been laid by the small hive beetle mama, and they're going to be emerging, and you're just not going to be able to keep control of your small hive beetle. And like I mentioned earlier, you could actually lose temperature control because your bees have found a way to ventilate their brood, and you could actually hurt your bees by manipulating frames out of order. Now, let me give you one more thought about if you want to keep your frames in order. A real simple trick to do is take a Sharpie marker like this and go to your deep hive once you open it up, and don't put a number. Like, let's say you're going to number each of your 10 frames with a number. Don't put a number like the number 1. Don't put it on each end of your frame. If you do that, you won't know which way to put number 1 back in, right? Only put the number 1 toward the front of the hive. All your numbers only go one time on one frame at the frame side that faces the front of the hive. That way, when you take it like this and you move it that way and that way to look at it, and you turn it around and around, you may not know what order the 2 1s go into if you put 2 of them. But if you only have one, the number 1 on one side of the frame on the front, you'll know exactly where to put frame number 1 back in the hive. That's amazing. And so you can number them. You probably should, because you'll get pretty, it can get complex where you have a lot of frames outside your hive, or maybe you've swapped them a lot and you forgot what order they were in. So try to number them. Keep your mind on where your frames are. And I think it's best practice to try to put them back in the same order that you took them out of the hive. Very good. All right. That's my take on how bad is it to move frames around. Sometimes it does hurt. Many times in the good season of beekeeping, you can get away with it when you have to make those steps. Just know what you're doing. Try to keep the brood nest tight together. That's imperative. All right, let's take some time now to answer your beekeeping questions. I love helping you guys answer questions and answer your questions. And I see that we have some new people on our live stream tonight. Many of you are new. Maybe some of you heard me speak in Texas, so welcome. Glad to have all of you new. If you're just joining us, we do have a giveaway coming up in just a little bit, so stay tuned. All right, what kind of questions do we have tonight? Hey, Melissa. If I see everything I need to see in the top box, do I need to go down through the whole bottom box too? Can I skip that or maybe just peek at a frame or two? Thanks for all that you do for us peeks. Yeah, very good question. When you have 2 deep boxes where the brood nest area is, sometimes that first brood box will give you all the information you need. When you do a 2-week inspection every 2 weeks, you're going to look, you found eggs, you found larvae, you found a good queen brood pattern, you don't see any signs of diseases. However, it doesn't guarantee there isn't problems in that second deep. But for me, I can be pretty satisfied with what I find in that top deep box. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Randy. How many pounds of honey can I harvest from a medium frame? Usually around about 30 to 40 pounds, depending on the volume of the honey that's in each of those comb. But about roughly 30 pounds of honey. Let's see, is that accurate, or is that what each frame weighs 6? Oh, each frame weighs about 6 pounds, and that includes the wood and the wax. 6 times 5 is, or 6 times 10 is, yeah. It's hard to tell for sure, but I'm gonna say probably 30 pounds maybe is coming to my mind. Yeah. About 3 gallons, probably. When's it too late to create a split in Texas? Well, in Texas, you don't have hard or long winters or hard winters like we do in Illinois. We try to get our bees ready for winter here in Illinois. So we may end up not making any more splits, give them time to build up a double deep box and get ready for winter. But if you're going to be able to get your winter bees through the winter, you don't have to work as hard. You might be overwintering in single deep, so they might do that. I would say I would practice and ask some beekeepers in your area first, kind of get them to tell you what works for them. But you probably want to stop doing that based on your nectar flow as well. Bees won't build up fast. I know you guys are kind of like already over, and some things are already done in Texas, so you may not be able to get that hive that you split built up unless you feed them. Hey, Jeremy, what do you think about feeding 1-on-1 sugar water with a super on if a super you plan on leaving is for the bees? Well, that's my go-to answer. You see all my videos I've made recently. I usually have a honey super that's just for them. I let them overwinter with it, and that's a lot of honey for them. So that works out really good. Also, if you have to use treatments that say you can't treat with honey supers on, you just got to remember, don't ever turn that into an edible honey super that you're going to harvest. Keep track of that. Super. Yep. Good questions. Perhaps the honey frames on both ends is for insulation. Most insulation that we're concerned about in the beehive is top insulation, just like in the winter for humans. If you have a hat on, it's going to hold in a lot of heat. You lose heat off your head. And the side insulation isn't extremely beneficial as much as the top is. So, yeah. And sometimes the cluster doesn't make it to the outside edges either as well. It's just for the bees access it in the brood area. Hey, Mike, can medium green drone comb be used in honey supers for a little extra honey production? A lot of people do that. I've heard that lately. It's a larger size cell, and so it can hold more honey. And I've heard plenty of people are using those green drone comb as honey supers. Yep. That would be heavy unless you can get the medium ones. They make them in medium, not just deeps. Hey, thanks for all your super stickers and donations tonight, everyone. Appreciate it a lot. Helps the live stream. Hey, Chase. Hey, David, does a slatted rack annually help with swarming? Thanks. It can. I've ran slatted racks. For those of you that don't know what a slatted rack is, it's a rack that sits on top of your bottom board. And it really was more beneficial when you use solid bottom boards because it gives the bees an illusion that there's a greater distance from the bottom of the hive to the bottom board. So I've heard people say it does help control swarming. But since a lot of my hives are screen bottom boards, they can see past the bottom board. I don't worry about that too much. But slatted bottom board users love them. Some have tried them and it didn't make a difference. It just all depends. Try it, see if you like it. Yeah. Hey, Connie. And in Iowa, wax foundation treated for wax moth with BT, what is that, 42 Certain. The frame is on the outside position. They're not building wax. Any suggestion? I guess, you use treatments out. You don't treat inside the hive. You don't let that treatment. You don't treat inside the hive. That's a frame you take out and store, but you treat it as you store it. So yeah, you might want to think if you did that incorrectly or something. I'm not sure why they're not touching that. Beekeeper MD, thank you for your super sticker this evening. Appreciate that, guys. I've heard piping 3 times this year. Each time new queens came out of their cells. Is this a signal to get ready to swarm? You hear a lot of piping from virgin queens trying to find each other. That sometimes can be supersedure if they made more than one supersedure. Typically, it is related to after the swarm has happened and the queens are starting to fight out who's going to be the new mom of the hive. So if you hear piping sounds, they've swarmed. They've already swarmed. Oh, let me demonstrate a piping noise. I'm really good at it. You ready? This is my imitation of 2 queens trying to find each other in a hive. Are you ready? Me, 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 me. Me, me, me. That's what it sounds like. You hear that, okay? Sometimes I've had queens that do that when I have them in battery cages and they want fed, they'll make that noise. And so, but in the case of a hive, they're trying to locate the other queen sometimes. Yep. Hey, David, if shading my hive, will it create other critters to come into the hive, such as small hive beetle? Hey, Gene, I oftentimes recommend taking a 4x4 piece of plywood, cut a 4x8 sheet in half and put that 4x4 sheet on top of the hive with a cinder block. And that makes shade really in the hottest time of the day. And no, it won't really make small hive beetle worse because your hives are still in a very sunny spot. It's just the immediate area within 2 or 3 feet right there by the hive at the hottest part of the day, but the sun's going to still be sunny around the hive later on. You'll be really well off to do that. Hey, Steve, going to do my first harvest next week. Should I leave the empty super out to let the bees rob them out or store them as is? It depends on where you live. Some states don't allow you to do that. So make sure that you're compliant with the law. And also, if you leave it anywhere close to a hive, and sometimes that can be even within 20 yards, it will induce robbing because they get waggle dances where that super is. And when they're going out to find your super, they fly past another hive and they get drawn to that hive. All of us do that, but it does have its risk to it. Yeah, be careful. Thank you, Sunshine, for that donation. Yeah, I'm not a real big crazy fan of doing that anymore. I put it back on a hive, any hive you want to. Let the hive itself in a contained under the top cover, let them clean it up and fill it up again. How do you get your bees to concentrate on the brood chamber? My queen is primarily in the supers. It could be that your super has newer comb and your queen loves new foundation that's freshly drawn out. So you might want to check out your frames down there. If you've got old 3, 4, 5-year-old comb down there on your frames, you may want to scrape and let them add new frames down there. Sometimes that's what the case is. Otherwise, you're going to have to fall back to a queen excluder and let them keep the queen down there. Absolutely. Can queens fit through bee escape boards? A bee escape is that little tiny thing that goes on. If I'm following what you're saying, is that it goes on the inner cover. It's an oval shaped hole on the inner cover. It's a plastic device, and worker bees, used to put those under a honey super to get all the bees out of a honey super. We would put a inner cover with the bee escape under a honey super. The bees would go through. These little pieces of wire will close behind the bee where they can't get back in. So you would clean out your super before you harvested it. Your queen can go through it if she's up there, absolutely. But she can't go in it. No bees can go in it. They can only go out through it. I hope that makes sense for you. We have virgin queens swarming out. Could you speak about this, please? A lot of times, like I know I've ran Russian bees before. Russian bees would swarm after swarms, they're called, and they do leave with those virgin queens. It's odd, isn't it? It's not the normal way of doing it, not the way the books say it. It does happen. I think sometimes I wonder if the virgin queen isn't trying to go out on a mating flight and everybody just piles in the car and tries to go with her. They're all on the bus together. Where are you going? We'll all go with you. You're swarming? What's going on? And maybe they don't have her in there with her, but they saw her leave and they kind of hung out on a branch and they'll all go back in. Kind of sometimes that happens, but people claim they catch plenty of swarms that had virgin queens in them. Not uncommon. Thank you, Tim. Hey, thanks for being a YouTube member. Appreciate it. You can always become a YouTube member on any video you're watching, even this one. There's a join button below the screen here. Henry, what can be done with honey that has foamed from the extractor to be liquefied? Foam can be a couple of things comes to my mind. It can be a lot of air bubbles. You just agitated, the honey enough where a lot of air bubbles are in there. Foam can also mean that you harvested your honey with too much moisture and it's beginning to ferment. Fermentation in the honey will cause foam. Also, if you have a little bit of small hive beetle that's defecated, slimed in the super, and you got some of that in there, it can really spread and cause it to really get it totally kind of infected with this, I guess, fermentation. So it could be that. And sometimes we let our honey sit for a while and all that kind of rises up a little bit in tanks and all, so we can use the gate on the bottom where it doesn't have that air bubbles in it. I'd check, see if it smells funny. Ricky, first year beekeeper in Middle Tennessee. You've been hot too, haven't you? Just put second deep on the hive. Would it be okay to feed 1-to-1, help them draw out the frames? Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. They'd probably love to have a little drink. 1-to-1 will help them a lot. Absolutely. Hello, Rob. How long do drone congregation zones last? I'm pretty sure I'm queenless in original hive, and the second swarm I was able to catch. Do they still have time to make a queen? I'm in Long Island, New York. Yeah, they do. Absolutely. We find that they start pushing drones out when we hit our fall temperatures, where it starts cooling way off. Bees have a pretty good instinct to know that summer's over and now it's starting to cool off. We're done raising queens, so let's kick our drones out. Up until that, best way to tell, if you see drones in your hive, there's still drone congregation areas out there. Yep. Hey, Alana, how are you doing? How long does it take for bees to create an emergency queen cup? I would say you're talking about a cup, probably an hour or less. It's really fast. It really is. Bees can build some cups in no time at all. Yeah. And usually there's emergency cups already there. They build those and keep them in there empty just in case they need them. Hey, Eddie, what is a subject new beekeepers don't ask but should? Thanks in advance. That's an easy one for me, Eddie. It is all about critical thinking. It's about, David, we want to know, how do you open a hive and how do we see a problem and how do we know how to solve it? If you could learn some very basic, I don't want to call it first aid, but some basic skill in handling the things you're going to obviously see the most and know how to solve it. A lot of beekeepers don't spend time doing that. And you should. You should really, let me spend a minute on this question. You should really spend some time saying, what do I do if I see a frame and it has bald brood on it? You're okay. So you go and you do your own research. Don't depend on a Facebook group or anybody to tell you. You need to look, what is bald brood? What does it look like? What are the three things that causes it? Do I have any of those three things happening? You look and you take mite samples. What do I do if the sample's high? What if the sample's low? These are all things that you are using critical thinking skills to solve the problem. Every hive you open, every hive for the most part is triage. There's a problem, but you're there as a beekeeper to solve and help them get over that problem. That's what I would really think beekeepers would ask. I want to know how to solve the everyday problems in a beehive. That's why I'm on LiveStream. That's why I make 2 or 3 videos a week. I'm showing you how to solve these problems. I made a video on bald brood. What causes it? What do you do about it? I've made videos on it, how to test for mites. I showed you how to use a powdered sugar test. I showed you how to do a CO2 test. I've shown you how to do alcohol washes. I've compared all of those. Which one is better? I'm working hard for you guys. That's a good question. I appreciate that. Know what to do. Hi there. I'm a third-year beekeeper. Recently added a new beehive and installed a package of bees. They're washboarding. Never seen this before. Should I be worried? Absolutely not. Washboarding is a phenomenon that we don't have all the information on yet. It's why that happens. We know there are young bees out there. They're scrubbing the deck with their front legs and proboscis. We have an idea that maybe they're hot. Everybody has their speculations. The chat's going to fill up with people who know who knows what caused that, I'm sure. But nobody really knows. Don't be worried. Bees do that. I made a video. My bees were doing that yesterday. It's fun to watch. Hey, Gary, what do you do when you have a bear that keeps destroying your hive with an electric fence, but he goes right through the fence and even breaks the wire, maybe stuff like that? They do make pads. I've seen people that live in bear country and bears break into their homes. they'll tear a wall open to get into the food inside your hive. So I've watched videos when I've been at bee conferences, watching bear experts give presentations, and they have these big electric rubber mats that I guess you can put where bees are trying to get in somewhere. And as soon as the the bear steps on it, man, they shoot straight up. My worry about that, I'd be afraid I'd forget where that was and I'd step on it. But I guess you need to think, I think electric fences are effective. I think you need to evaluate where how high off the ground the low wire is, how high off the ground your top wire is. Make sure it's grounded right, all that stuff. There's an art to running bear fences. Maybe you're doing it all right and that bear is just determined to go through there. That's tough. You might want to look into those pads maybe. Can you have a laying worker with a queen present, multiple eggs per cell, but the queen has been and is still present? Yes, laying workers are always present in a queen right hive. What? Did David just say that? Is he crazy? No, all the entomologists and all the research shows and have talked about that every hive has some laying workers in it when they're queen right. They're there, but they're under control. They're kept at a minimal because of the queen pheromone, the QMP, and the brood pheromone. But they're there. Yes, they're always there. Some of them are. It's just when the absence of the queen or absent of the brood pheromone that they go rampant and they start laying everywhere. Yeah. Thank you, Sally. Thank you for your donation tonight. Our live stream is getting more and more expensive to air because of I use Starlink internet and I have to have a business plan to make it all work. And they've doubled my rates. It's outrageous. So we also have giveaways. Your donations help with that. So thank you all for helping with the live stream donation. Can I take my queen cells from my cell starter and put them in a better bee isolation cage and put them in a queen right hive to finish? No, I don't think I would do that, because that isolation cage that holds the frame allows all the bees that have their mother's queen mandibular pheromone on them. They probably feel like they don't need a queen cell, and I think they would tear that down. Yeah, I wouldn't trust that. It's not isolating the workers. They're the ones that are going to tear that queen cell down, not just your mated queen. That's a good question, though. You don't know unless you don't ask, right? I live in the thumb of Michigan, and I got my bees in late May, early June. Do you think I would be able to harvest honey from them this year? That all depends on going out there and seeing what they're doing, checking those supers, seeing if they're capped over. I think you could if you lived in a really good, resourceful place where there's a lot of resources. How about, do you have a lot of Dutch clover? We have a lot. This year, Dutch clover, there's honey coming out of everywhere because of Dutch clover, the little white yard clover. It's everywhere in Illinois. Crazy. Our bees are just working themselves to death. Sunshine, good to see you. My queen laid wall-to-wall brood on the frame, which was close to the wall. I've seen that too. I thought it was supposed to be for honey. Is that normal, right? It does have plenty of room elsewhere for her to lay. Oh, I think, Sunshine, I think sometimes the queen walks around. She hangs out. She got near that wall over there. The bees have to polish those cells to make it where it's sanitized for her to lay those eggs in there. So they kind of drew her over there, unless you accidentally moved one of their frames over there. They set her up to lay over there. They wanted that over there. Yeah. She doesn't really decide that as much as they prepare where she's going to lay, and she just follows suit. Hello, David. I got 9 colonies. All have mite counts from 0 to 3 per 300. Would you treat? I haven't since last year, and they were low then. You're within the threshold of a backyard beekeeper. Now, Lou, your problem's going to be that as we get further into the season, that's probably going to ramp up. As we get into like August and September, when the brood of the honeybee starts getting less, your mites are getting more. So you could probably get by with not treating now, and then just try to keep testing every 3 or 4 weeks to see if the count's changing. You might try like a green drone comb just to get some mites out of there. You might try, you can use something like that. That's an IPM, but it doesn't involve chemicals. So you might want to do something to hold it there. Yeah. That's good for you, though. That's great. Hey, Johnny. Hey, David. I always see your name, Johnny. I think of Johnny Cash. My brain sees Johnny Cash when I see your name, Johnny Chase. Can flipping a frame over to look at the other side damage developing larva in a queen cell almost kept over? Yes. A larva? Nah, maybe larva in a pool of royal jelly. Their spiracles are only operational getting air on the side that's facing up, not the side facing into the royal jelly. So if the larva flipped over, yeah, it would suffocate the larva. And if you flip frames too quick when they're capped over and their wings are developing, you can cause that pupae in the cocoon to maybe have wing damage. So be careful with those queens. Yeah, you need to keep them in the orientation and not flip and handle them around too much. One more and we'll have a giveaway. How do you go about charging money for a bee removal? Okay, here's my take. I did that for 6 or 8 years. David, I have bees in my house. I think there's only like a few of them behind my siding. I can see them going in and out. There only looks like there's maybe 100 of them. Well, I go and look. I see they're honeybees. There's never 100 honeybees. There's thousands, right? So I tell them that for us to remove it, we have to remove all the comb. We have to wipe the wall down. We have to put bat insulation in the cavity or a future swarm might move in. And so we have to bring a construction worker in. He has to open the wall. I remove it. He closes up your house and we make it look like we were never there. It's an all-day job on a large colony. And it's probably going to cost $1,000 to $2,000 to do that job, because that's a lot of work. You know, you're paying a carpenter to work in a hot bee suit. Carpenters are expensive already, you know, paying the beekeeper to do it. You'll find people do it cheaper, I'm sure. But so then they would say, well, I'm just going to kill them. I'm just going to spray them with poison. Then I always say this: if you spray them with poison, you're not going to be able to kill all of them. Probably you're going to kill some of them. If you did kill all of them, that colony will stay in your wall and begin to rot. It will begin to turn into a gooey mess, which will attract black mold, cockroaches, ants, mice, all the bad things, and it will smell horrible. A colony is about the size of a medium-sized dog biologically. It's going to smell like a dog died in your wall. I'm not trying to make the sale. I'm trying to help them, right? And then I always say, but also if you do kill them, other colonies could try to come rob the honey that's laced with pesticides and take it back to their colony. That could be you could be liable for killing other people's colonies. And I had all that in literature, and I would some people would say that's fine, go ahead and do it. Some wouldn't. But I just try to communicate that it's a lot of work. It's a technique to know how to open up a wall, not slice a water pipe or electric wire. Okay, let's have some giveaways, okay? It's giveaway time. I have some special things I want to give away today. We got 2 giveaways, but one of these, I don't know if you guys have seen these. These are at a lot of conferences. This is actually called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Viagra. Now, this is actually vitamins for bees. Do you see them listed there? You mix it with your sugar water. And a lot of beekeepers really say this has been beneficial for them. Some, you see a lot of B vitamin C and E. And so you know that our winter bee kinds, we also add vitamins to our winter bee kind boards for winter survival. So if you're interested in getting a bag of this to try in your beehives, we'll ship you this bag. And you can try it out and see if it'll help. Got a whole bunch of it on the back too. This company's been around for a while, but it has a whole bunch of the vitamins listed here. And yeah, so we'll be giving this away. So just, what is it? #gift. That's right. So in the comments, #gift. All right. Thank you all for being here. While we're collecting these comments to win, I want to let you know that I've got a special something that I'm working the details out on. I'm nearing my 1,000th video on YouTube, and that counts for all my live streams as well. I'm going to be making my 1,000th, that's hard to say, video around July 17th. So what I'm trying to do is work it out where the live stream on July the 17th will be my 1000th video. And right now, what I'm working on is trying to get 1,000 viewers on our live stream July 17th. Right now, we're bumping 800. We just need a couple hundred more people to join us and make this a big celebration event for video number 1000th. And I'm working with my team so that we can give away the $1,000 worth of giveaways on the 17th. That's a big commitment, isn't it? It's just our way of saying thank you for being part of the live stream and thank you for being part of my YouTube channel. So that's coming up July 17th, $1,000 value of giveaways on July 17th. That'd be video number 1000 if I do all my math right before that. So look forward to that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So come celebrate that with us, with 1,000 beekeepers. That'll be fun. You have to tell all your people that you know to be on there that night to help us reach that number. All right, Robbie, let's see who's the lucky winner tonight of the vitamins for your honeybees. I guess you could drink it, but I think it's made for honeybees. All right, let's see who the winner is. Oh, look at the names going by. Paul, Steve, Eugene, Mary, Holly, Robin, Tommy, Chris. Dottie, you're the winner. Dottie, email us at beaksquadwinner@gmail.com. You can see that going across your screen. Email us within 24 hours. Let us know you won and send us your mailing address, shipping address, so we can ship that to you. Now, right on the back of that one, we have another giveaway. Similarly, we're going to be giving away a bag of Viagra. No, wait a minute. Different bag. Let me switch. Here it is. We already did that. Mineral. Yeah, like mineral, but this is being mineral. It's hard to say. These are minerals for honeybees that you can mix. It's supposed to really help your bees. You know, now we're in the great time of beekeeping when a lot of people now have a lot of products out there to help your bees, a lot of different kind of probiotics and things to add to sugar water and such. But here's a good bag of minerals to add to your bees. It's on the back too. You can read what it says here on the back for minerals for your bees. But we'll give this away as well. And same hashtag gift. So you're going to win a bag of minerals and try that out. See if you can boost up your bees with some minerals. Yeah. So start leaving comments for that hashtag gift for tonight's giveaway. Yeah. That'd be a lot of fun. Let's take a few more questions real quick while we're letting those comments collect. How was your trip to Texas? Hey, Gene. I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast tonight, the live stream, I had a great time. Michelle picked me up at the airport, took me to the conference center, beautiful hotel. The conference and the rooms were right there together. I always love that. They treated me so nice. I enjoyed giving my talk so much. I was disappointed in my last talk that I gave. I was giving my talk on bee inspection, and because of a schedule mishap, they made a mistake and they had to cut me short. And some of the audience was disappointed on that. It happens, you know, but other than that, it was just great. I enjoyed the food, and that was my first time to speak in Texas, actually. And so that was great. I got to see a lot of Texans and saw a lot of big hats. Everything in Texas is big, you know, and I hung out with great people. Rebecca was my concierge, and she was really good, taking care of all the needs that I had. Their president, Gary, he's a lot of fun. He's a hoot. He really is strong for their area, for their members and all. Rusty was great. Rusty took me around to some of the places as well. It was fun meeting Jimmy. I met an older beekeeper gentleman. His name was SS. He and I sat down and talked a while about beekeeping. That was a lot of fun, just sitting down talking with him and his years of experience. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of fun. And it was just a hoot. Let me show you real quick what SS gave me. Let me find it here. He gave me this card, and I'd never seen this before. Texas was, you know, where some of the first Africanized bees came up years ago. But look at this card. I'm not going to be able to show it. He gave me this card in the way, is it upside down? No? Okay, he gave me this card, and you can hold it up to a frame of bees and then look at the cells to determine if it's Africanized or European. It says information provided by Paul Jackson. Many people know that name. He's a deceased A&M University entomologist. So several people, when SS gave me this, several people around me like, oh yeah, that really works. That's really good. And I liked one of the presentation or panels was talking about Africanized bees. And I liked one of the fellows there that spent his big part of his life. He was around trying to trap the Africanized bees as they came in and all. His name was Bill. And I like what Bill said. He said, somebody said, how do we know what Africanized bees look like? How do we know what they are? How do we identify them? You know? And he said, I like what he said. Doesn't matter. Mean bees are mean bees. If you have mean bees, it doesn't matter if they're Africanized or European, they're mean. You need to do something with them. And I kind of like that because he said some European bees that aren't Africanized can be more mean than an Africanized hive. You know, it just depends on their makeup. So I answer your question. I had a lot of fun in Texas. All right, let's have a giveaway. No need for entering multiple hashtags. It doesn't do any good. It clogs up the system. We might put you in timeout automatically, or bot may put you in timeout for doing that. All right, let's try it. See who's going to win. Wayne. All right, Wayne, you want a bag of minerals for your bees. Follow the instructions and give your bees a boost. They might need them in this hot weather. I know when I exercise in this heat, I need a lot of minerals. Wow, it's crazy hot out there. Yeah, y'all stay cool too. Be careful out there as well. All right, let's have a few more rapid fire question time. Sock it to me. Hey, Tommy, how do you best clear frames of resources if you just want to draw out comb from other hives? I have no clue what that means. Frames of resources if you just want to draw an out comb for other hives. Best way to clear frames of resources: if you have pollen, knock it out. If you have nectar, knock it out. If you have honey, harvest it. Hey, Rich, how are you doing? Appreciate you and your entire team. And Patrick, your camera guy, he needs credit too. Patrick's on tonight. Way to go, Patrick. Always enjoy Patrick. Patrick's going to be on site in the morning at 8:30 filming for us. So Patrick is great. He is. Hey, Leslie, how often do you feed sugar water during summer dearth? Constantly. I don't stop. Absolutely. Hey, Frank, does it matter what kind of sugar you feed bees? I use natural cane for myself, not refined. Bees don't live very long. You know, we worry about humans eating sugar because we live a long time. Bees live 45 days. You don't think bees are going to die of cancer from sugar in 40 days. So, you know, it's your preference. A lot of people do prefer more natural stuff. I've not seen a difference personally. Got a package in April. When can I stop feeding? If you're not trying to feed to get frames drawn out, you can stop right away. Let them just start working out nectars. Yeah, nectaries of flowers. 7 days since my hive swarm. How quickly to check if I have a laying queen? After they swarm, you're going to look for queens in about 2 weeks, or eggs in 2 weeks. Justin, thank you for your super sticker tonight. Appreciate your donations this evening. Long Island, a lot of Long Island beekeepers. Yeah. What's your take on grafting queens this month? I don't like to graft when it's really hot, but the humidity helps the hives, the grafts not dry out. I think you're talking about timing probably. As long as you got drones that can mate with those virgin queens, you can keep on grafting. It works out fine. Absolutely. Does an increase in queen cups present in a hive indicate your hive is thinking about swarming? It depends on where they're at. If they're at the bottom and they're getting stretched out for the first time, and yeah, that's probably means they're making swarm cells or getting ready to. But if they're up on the middle or upper side of the frame, not so much. Hey, Darla, how soon after installing a queen do I check to see if she's released? Oh, I would wait 5 to 6 days. I don't think I would get in there too much before. They're going to release her within 24 hours, depending on how thick the candy is. Even had twin queens. Oh, ever had twin queens emerge? I've heard of that. I have heard of that, but no, I haven't. You get more for the money then when you sell 2 queens. Twins. Yeah. Hey, Kathy, can you harvest honey in June? Absolutely. Anytime honey is dropped down to 16 to 18% moisture level, you can harvest it. Doesn't matter what month it is. Yeah. Jason, have you used 21st bee frames? I am using them and love them. I have not. I'm gonna have to try that, see what they're like. I use acorn frames, wood frames, acorn foundation. It works really good for me. Hey, Reggie, I'm trying essential oils for Mite Control. Have you heard of this? Reggie, I'm a certified master beekeeper. I have heard about that. There's very few things I haven't heard about. I work hard for you guys, so I do a lot of my own research. I've known about essential oils for a very long time, and I've tinkered with it a little bit. But here's my take on it. You want my opinion, don't you? I think there's a lot more proven ways to treat for mites that are labeled, that have been tested, that have an efficacy rating on them. They are labeled for mites. I prefer to use those types. I'm not saying essential oils may not work, but since you really don't know how much, how effective, what other effects they may have on contaminating other parts, bees work off pheromones, all that essential oil and such. Yeah, you have to kind of be careful. Good question, though. All right, guys, it's time to close her up tonight. Thank you all for being a part of our live stream tonight. Don't forget, 1,000th video coming up July 17th. We're going to give away $1,000 worth of giveaways on July 17th. You don't want to miss that. So tell all your friends to be on here. We need to reach 1,000 subscribers or 1,000 watchers or viewers that night that'll be live with us. So that's great. I want to tell you guys how much I really appreciate you. You guys are the best. You guys are family. Our live stream is a live stream with heart. And I think one of the best things that we can do for one another is to be kind to each other, to love each other, be supportive of one another, and really get behind each other. There's no room in the beekeeping community for us to be competitive, mean, and ugly. So let's really reach out and support those that are around us and really put our best foot forward and represent beekeeping the best way we can. I appreciate all of you. And yeah, for those of you really going through a rough time tonight, I hope things do get better. Stay cool, stay hydrated for sure. And again, thanks a million for Robbie and Jessica and Carrie for doing a great job tonight, running the live stream. Appreciate all you guys. And I'm going to see you in the next video.